You got what?
Flea spray my apartment.
Oh, something you'll learn about Augie, I know you haven't seen him yet, but he doesn't hang out with his friends anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen him since he's been in a relationship.
Yeah, get used to that.
First time.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I love you. Woohoo! It's on. It's on. We're rolling, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Starving Artists, the #1 podcast in the world. I'm your host, Bijan Kodavandi, and welcome to our first episode. Woohoo! Ow, ow. Starving Artists is about creatives risking it all to chase big dreams. My personal favorite type of human. Today, I'm joined by two very special guests, two talented guys I'm lucky to call close friends. First, we have Ryan, a very talented songwriter, originally from Sunbury, Ohio, who moved here from New York City 6 years ago. And we have Augie, who is originally from Lyon, France. He moved to LA from London 6 years ago and is currently the lead guitarist in the band Vertige. Welcome to Starving Artists, you guys. Yay. How are we doing?
Episode 1.
Yay, episode 1. You happy to be here, Rai? How was your morning?
Wonderful.
Yeah? What'd you do?
Came here.
Yeah. Literally woke up and came
Woke
here.
up, made breakfast,
Love it.
stared into the canyon for a little bit.
Yes. What about you, Augie? What'd you do?
I walked the dog, had some coffee, and thought about my life.
Oh, I love that.
Contemplated everything.
Yeah, so I forced these guys to come join me because, I genuinely, I'm big fans of both of yours. And I think we should start off by talking about how we know each other. How do we know each other?
How we know each other? From
Grinder.
Tao.
Grinder.
Yeah, Tao.
I trained both of these guys.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Everything
You trained.
I know.
You didn't train me.
I think you trained me, actually.
No, I've never trained a soul in my life, actually. They've never allowed me to train.
That would
No,
probably
we
be a
all,
mistake.
we all worked at
That would be a
a
mistake.
poppin' restaurant in LA called Tao, where they have multiple locations. I worked at the one in New York and then came to LA. Yeah. Met Bijan there, and then Augie came along.
I did.
Yeah.
What did you
sucked
start
in.
as?
A busser.
Busser.
Worked my way up, runner, and then server. Been 5-6 years now. 5-6 years too long.
We've watched Augie just
Rise up.
like a rocket ship.
Like a rocket ship. I love it. Okay, guys, so I want to talk a little bit about being an artist in LA. The ins and outs of it. That's what Starving Artists is really about. I think it's about, what I want it to be about is a useful kind of podcast to build community, hear about your fellow artists in LA that's, trying to make it, and, what does that look like? How are we collaborating with each other? How are we using social media? What are we struggling with? What's the nature of having a day job and being an artist? So, yeah, that's going to be the general gist. Yeah, right?
What a concept. Unbelievable.
Revolutionary.
Revolutionary, truly. I really like it.
Thanks, Ryan. So, Ryan, you moved here from New York City.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you were making music there. Is that like where your love for music started?
No, my love for music started in Ohio. Is this good?
That's
now?
perfect.
Okay. Let's see, backstory. So I was in Ohio. I was 20 years old. No, 20. Yeah, I was 20 years old. I was living in Orlando at that time, working at Disney at the golf courses.
Nice.
Florida?
And then, I lived there for like 6 months, and I had no clue what I was doing with my life. Got accepted to the University of Hawaii at Manoa.
Okay.
Scheduled all my classes, and then I moved home to save money to then go to school. And while I was home for that, like 5 months before school, I started making music with a friend of mine named Josh Becker. And
Josh Pecker?
Becker.
Got it.
We'll call him 8-4. That was his rap name and producer name. But we just fell in love with music, and then I think it was just one of those things where it's big city, big dreams. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere type of thing. I just felt like I love Sunbury and I love Westerville and Columbus, where I'm from, but I just felt like there was just more to see in the world. Truly, I just felt like I wanted to experience it all, And so I think that the landscape has changed a lot too, because when I was coming up, it was hard to make it in a small town. Like, it was hard to create like this moment in a place where there wasn't the scene for it, right? Okay. So if you wanted to make it, you kind of did have to move to a bigger city. I don't think that that's the case now. Because this was kind of before social media. This was like You know,
in the 80s, right?
this was 1983. I had a yellow Firebird. My mullet was just
flowing.
no. It's just it was different. It was right before social media. I mean,
Right.
I moved to New York, and then Instagram came out like a month later. You know, so like we got Instagram. We're like, yo, you can like post pictures to this app. Like, there wasn't a influencer. That wasn't a thing. It was like you write songs, you get a band, you tour. You put out mixtapes, so the landscapes change a lot. So yeah, so that was So I lived in New York for 8.5 years.
And you performed out there, right?
A lot, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like? Tell us a story about one of your performances, an epic New York story.
New York City performance. I mean, the funniest one was, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that happened at an actual show.
Tell us something illegal.
One funny thing that happened, I was performing at...
Did you get arrested?
Never got arrested out there. I should have been, but I had a PBA card, which is a get out of jail free card in New York City.
Really?
PBA?
Yeah, PBA. It's a Police Benevolent Association card. I had 2 of them. So you get them, now we're on a different topic, but you get them from, if you know anyone that's a lieutenant or a sergeant in the NYPD, and I knew both.
And that gets you out of things?
Yes, get out of jail free card. Aside from like robbery, like any kind of public intoxication, anything that would be a ticket, you don't get fined for. Weed, alcohol, drinking, public intoxication.
So like misdemeanors are just like, you can just commit misdemeanors left and right.
Me and my buddy Meech will come up, I'm sure, in this later on, but we were drinking on a stoop one time, drinking 40s in Brooklyn, and the cops pulled up, and like, what the fuck you boys doing, you know? And my boss told me, he's like, when they get you, you just pull out the card. Pull out the card, hand it to him, say, please talk to this person. He called my boss right in front of me. He's like, hey, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but, you know, hey, Mr. Such and Such. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's hilarious.
Yes, sir. And then as soon as he handed me the card back, he's like, get your ass home, stay out of trouble. You're lucky. And I used that card like 10 different times.
Were you doing it hoping that someone would stop by?
No, I never did anything on purpose. I mean, there was like one time my buddy was peeing out of the train.
Nice.
And I had to use it. And
wait, how do you pee out of a train?
So in New York, when you're riding a subway, if you got to take a piss and it's late night and you don't want to get off the train, obviously, because the next train doesn't come for 45 minutes. So you pee between the cars. You go between the cars while the train's in motion.
Okay.
And you just,
while the train's in motion, so you can open like a door?
You can walk through the doors of the two. You used to be able to. I don't know if you still can, but so what a lot of people that I knew would do is you'd open up one of the doors, shut the door behind you, so now you're between the cars as the train's rocking, and you just pee right there.
That's why it stinks there all the
I
time.
100% would have done that.
So what happened was, and sorry I'm bogarting the conversation, but my buddy was doing that, and when it was his first time in New York, when the train came, it pulled into a station and it stopped. It wasn't an express train, so it didn't go through that stop. So when the train stopped, he was still peeing, and there was 2 undercover cops standing right there. So he's just peeing directly, he looks up, and the cop goes, get your ass off the train right now.
Did he use his little get out of jail free card?
I used it again, yeah.
That's absurd. I would have arrested your ass.
Other people.
Anyone that I'm with, because it was amazing.
And that's legal?
It's called a Police Benevolent Association card. Look it up. Yeah, PBA card. And the cops get like 5 of them to hand out to friends and family per year. And or like speeding. If you get speeding, you hand that to them, you won't get a ticket.
Do you know any cops here by any chance?
I don't. Not in LA, unfortunately. So, but yeah. So that's Okay. We'll chat about Augie for a second, then we can talk about shows.
Let's talk about
shows with me in a minute.
Let's talk about me.
Augie, tell us a fantastic illegal story from your time in London.
A legal story? Oh my God, I was very innocent in London, unfortunately.
Really?
No.
What was the music scene like out there? Did you ever like perform?
I did. Yeah, I was in college, so it was mostly like part of the live music society that I was in. So yeah, we'd perform in bars and stuff. It was cool. It was mostly like small. There's a lot of like blues, jazz clubs in London, actually, probably more than here.
What do the Brits think about you?
Well, they hate me.
Really?
No.
Because you're French?
Huh?
Because you're French?
No, because I'm Native American. French part's fine. Wow.
Did you say Native American?
No, did I?
I thought you did.
Wow. No, as soon as you start talking the accent, they're like, you can just feel it's like, hey, bruv, bruv. You know?
Yeah. So do you put on the French accent to not be judged?
I should have. No, like this. Hello, my name's Augustus.
I feel like They're like very critical of Americans, British people, and
And we hate them too. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I felt very.
we're both elitist. Like both of our countries, I think, believe they're superior to the rest of the
we
world.
also got some history too.
You guys got some.
I have some beef.
And if I play the French
kind of
card, they're
moved
always like,
out,
"We
you
rescued
know?
your ass."
Yeah, that's true. Politically, though, they're friends with us.
Yes, they are.
So you think that British and English and Americans think they're better than the rest of the?
Yeah, I think they both have a superiority complex.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with being white.
Bastards.
Bastards. JK, to all my white listeners, we love you. Okay, so
Should we talk about music?
yes, let's talk about music. Augie, let me ask you a question.
I got a question.
Yes, please. No,
I
Ryan.
just want to hear tell me about your band. I would love to hear about the bandmates and yeah.
Like you said, I'm part of this band called Vertige,
Okay.
which is French for vertigo.
Okay.
I went with the French because I'm half French. The singer Naomi is also half French, so it's like, why not?
Exceptional singer, by the way.
Isn't she amazing?
She's very, very good.
Great.
Lots of presents.
Lots of presents. She's like Christmas. Lots of
Christmas.
presents.
Exactly.
Little wordplay.
I agree. No, I was talking about her recently and I said she's very fearless. And I think a big part of being an artist is being fearless and is being unapologetic and also talented. And I think between you two and the rest of the band, of course, you guys stand out a lot.
Yeah, I think we complement each other well because she, like you said, she is fearless. She's just like all over the place, has tons of energy. I'm much more reserved, I feel like, when I play, but I do.
Reserved.
I mean, like
Guy's wearing a fur coat with no shirt under.
well, yeah,
With his titties out.
like my facial expression. She's like jumping all over the place. I feel like I'm more like mysterious. It's like some kind of mystique on.
Your stage
but-
presence is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Truly,
But-
and I'm not saying that because I'm just a friend.
thank you.
If you guys have time, check out some of their videos.
It's true.
I feel like it comes out more in the guitar playing. But
Yeah.
that's the good part for me. But yeah, we complement each other well, I think.
When's the last time you went to a show, Ryan?
Any show?
Of his?
Oh, his. A couple months ago, yeah. It's been a few months.
Oh, he's been busy, Augie.
Been busy.
I got to.
Doesn't come very often.
But I've come to a few. I've come to enough to be a supporter.
Yeah.
My old job was tough. You know,
Yeah.
just life is tough. You know, especially we're talking about being a starving artist. It's like
Yeah.
you don't just get to do the fun stuff. You gotta put in the work. You gotta have a day job. You gotta work at the restaurant. You gotta deliver Uber Eats or whatever it is that people are doing to keep their lights on, to keep this dream alive.
You got to practice your craft too.
Oh, and you got to practice your craft. And in your
top
free
of it.
time, you got it. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
It's fun though. No regrets. No regrets.
What about you, Ryan? Do you ever want to be on stage again? I mean, I know you go by songwriter, but I know you got some stage chops.
I know it's such an interesting question. Yeah, the last show I did was right before I moved to LA. So I was like a month before I moved to LA. My wonderful mother, Teresa Dronsfield, shout out.
Shout out. I love her TikTok.
Lemonade Cup on TikTok and Instagram.
Yep.
And she's like us. She has that kind of free spirit. It's kind of where I got it from. But she throws a festival in Ohio, which started with like, I think it was 500 people or 800 people the first year. And the last few years, I've done 15,000 people.
Wait, your mom does that?
My mom does. She throws this festival. And then she started off, I remember the phone call. She's like, hey, I want to start a festival. I want a reason to sell lemonade because they sell lemonade out of this giant lemonade cup. And she's like, I want a reason to sell the lemonade, but I also want a reason for you to be able to come home. So I'm going to throw a festival. You're going to perform, and then I'll sell lemonade.
What a supportive mom.
And
What a-
they just had their 10th year this year of the festival. So the first year I performed, we had another amazing artist named Spencer Sutherland, who is massive now. He's just so
I feel like I've heard of him.
He's so incredible. He's done so much. I'm so proud of him. But he performed on that same show, so it was very small, and then it's grown and grown and grown. But so the last time I performed was that, and it was 6 years ago, which seems so crazy to me. But I remember going out on stage, and there's always this level of nerves that is. Do you still get nervous or?
Oh my God, every single time.
So that's the thing.
Every
It's like
single time. Doesn't matter how much you do it.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. There's a quote Brad Pitt said, and he said that every time they say action, he is so nervous he can't even function.
Yeah.
He's not fearless. He's like, right before they say the word action, I'm terrified every single time. And they said, if you're not nervous, you're not human. Yeah. And I think that that's important because
100%.
I don't know. Like, I think I'm learning a lot as I'm growing. But when I was younger, it was kind of just like figure it all out yourself.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm nervous to perform. Something's wrong with me. You know what I mean? But everybody, it's like, I want people to know that it's like in anything you're doing, whether it's acting or whether it's even giving a speech in class or whatever it is, like nerves are normal. And like the difference is do you feel the nerves and push through it?
Yeah.
Or do you let the nerves be in charge? Are the nerves in charge, or
the nerves like hold you back and then not?
Yeah.
Well, I think that like, so performing to an artist, I think is equivalent to like posting for a content creator, right? So putting something out there and having a level of accountability and exposure. And like, I think as an artist, you have to perform. Like, I'm sorry, like if that's what you want to do, you should. If you are a content creator, you have to post. And and those nerves come around, and that's when you know you're actually, you know, progressing. That's when you know you're actually doing the damn thing. You're in the ring, right? So like,
that's a great way of putting it too.
Yeah, like for me, I know with my aspirations of being a content creator, I know that I can make a video, I can make an interview that might be cringe, but I'm in the ring. I'm actually competing with other people. And there's this transition that goes, so in our minds, we can think we're this really talented artist, right? And that's where fantasy exists. And that's where we have this really great confidence. But until you go out and you start posting or you start performing, once you do that in your mind, then you have flaws. Then you can actually measure where you stack up against other people. And the fantasy is gone, and you actually have weaknesses and you have strengths. And that is where a lot of artists don't want to go. They want to be in their minds and they want to be, you know, really confident there, but you have to push yourself to expose yourself, essentially.
I want to draw a line in the sand, because you said you have to perform, which is not true nowadays, because there are artists that put out music and don't perform.
True.
They don't do their first show until it's their first world tour. You know, like there's artists that never see the stage, and their first show is in front of the big, like they've already sold 1 million copies, and they do their first show.
I feel like by perform you mean like in that case like release something.
Yeah,
Put something out.
exactly. So that's all.
Yeah, so you're right.
It's so true. Yeah.
And I feel like the nerves are always there, but they become more manageable, I guess.
Yes.
Over time, and then I feel like in my case, at least as soon as I start playing on stage, it's like you kind of ease into it and it kind of disappears.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And you asked about when I'm going to perform again. That's exactly how it used to be.
Yeah.
I would always be terrified. As soon as they'd hand me the mic, everything would go.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you're doing it, it's like, okay, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm embracing it. That's
and
it.
the last time I got off stage, I remember the first thing I said was, why don't I do this more?
Exactly.
Why don't I do this
every
more,
single time? It's like
every single time. I want to do this every day. Why would I not do this? And then now I've taken 6 years off, so I don't know. It's an interesting.
But yet here you are.
Let's throw the Starving Artist Showcase and I'll perform.
I know, right? Starving Artist, buy your merch now. Just kidding. No, but I think I was so keen to have both of you on because, I mean, for different reasons, but for Ryan, I know like that artistic gene is in you. Like I know deep down, like you're creative, and I think that, you know, hopefully like this podcast can serve not like as a jumping point or, you know, get some momentum, because I hate to see people whose dreams, you know, kind of go by the wayside. And I would love for this podcast to be that for people. Like, let's talk about the time you perform. Let's get those mechanics going again and get you back on stage. And that's really the goal here.
I appreciate it. I like it. I like the concept a lot. There's an interesting balance too with that, right? Because, okay, art is meant to be shared, right? The most selfish thing you can do is to keep your art to yourself.
Right.
But at the same time, it also depends on what you want out of it, right? Like for me personally, people will be like, oh, are you still doing music? And like, I'm not offended by that question because I don't release music as much as I should. It's like once a year I'll put a song out randomly and barely promote it, but I never stop making music. You know, I have, you know, like probably over 700 songs on my laptop. So it's like, I'm making 50 to 100 songs a year over the last 15 years. I never stopped making music. Okay. So for me, I do it. If I had intention with it and I wanted something out of it, I would have done it by now, probably. I feel like, so there's a part of me that music is just like a therapy. It is like just that creative outlet. Like creativity is something that makes me feel centered and like a human being. You know, like that's what I need to do to keep my head on straight, is go write songs and write music. Now pushing the upload button is an important step.
Yes.
But if that step is important to me, because I could just write another 700 songs, never put them out, and go to my grave with a smile on my face. It's interesting, you know?
See, is
sharing it, do I have to share it?
Well, you want to, what do you think?
Ultimately, if whatever you're doing is making you happy at the end of the day, whether you release it or not, just stick to that. Like I've thought about if ever, I decided to change career paths or like I felt like it's been too long, guitar, music, it's not going to work out, I would still play guitar every day because it's been my therapy for like 17 years. It's like as important as eating, drinking water, just makes you feel.
I have a different approach. I honestly will not stop until content creation is my full-time job and I work for myself. Like that's my mindset. I will make money out of my art, which might differ from you. And that's my ethos. That's my approach personally, is I'm a capitalist and I want my art to be the thing that frees me financially. That's how I approach it. So I think that's why a lot of times, which is an unromantic way to approach art, I will admit. Like I am there for the financial game. I am strategizing and I am, creating a brand that will lend itself to commercial enterprises for sure.
Well, that's important too. I feel like there's a bit of both.
It's also good to do this.
Right.
To partner.
Yes,
you got one person that thinks that like this and one person that thinks like that.
Exactly.
You got to have a left brain and a right brain to have a full brain. That's why me and you do so much stuff together. I just think that that's important. Everybody can't be the best at everything.
Exactly.
Augie knows that. I've said that before.
With me and Vertige and Naomi, I've been in LA like 5 or 6 years, and basically nothing had happened. And then I met Naomi, who's extremely outgoing, knows tons of people, and had all these gigs lined up, and that's the part that's been the hardest for me the whole time. And then it just kind of clicked, and now I play I don't know how many shows in the last year. But she's like the complete opposite of me. I'm much more reserved as far as that goes. Networking, I just hate doing, I kind of just stay in the corner and play guitar, but it's like a perfect mix now.
There's something
that is not true. He does not stand in the corner.
No, I mean, but like
getting passionate love to the guitar.
I do make love to the guitar,
but don't undersell yourself.
No, I know. But another thing I wanted to say about what you were saying earlier is that I feel like people who move to LA or want to become artists, right? They think they have to do it as soon as possible, but it takes time, and that's okay.
It does.
In 6 years, basically nothing happened.
It does.
And then it can just happen like, oh crap, well here you go. It took 6 years, but what?
Well, because unlike, unlike a traditional career like finance or whatever it may be, as artists, you're your own boss, so you have to have the discipline. You have to show up for yourself. And to me, that is one of the hardest things about art, and it's showing up. And that's why I respect artists so much, is because, they're risking so much for this untraditional path. And that's why I really want to get these conversations started, is because one, I'm fascinated on a human level by people willing to risk so much for art. And two, that collaborative spirit that we're talking about does wonders for art. Like right now, like talking to you, having multiple people in a room, there's synergy. There's something that happens in your mind. There's more motivation. It's more exciting. And I think for artists, collaboration is incredibly important.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, me and Augie, we've background on us. We've done. Bijan will play our song in the outro of this. Yes. It's called Reunion.
There it is. That's the
one. No, but me and I wanted to start writing country music. I mean, I've always been in pop, R&B, even some commercial stuff. I've had some success in like the commercial world. But I wanted to start writing country because I grew up on a farm in Ohio, and it's like country's my backbone. So I called this guy, and that's another thing. Like I said, leave some jobs up to the professionals, Like I don't need to be teaching myself how to play guitar and trying to be a guitar player to write country songs. I know Augie.
Right.
And
So hey, come over to my house and be the amazing guitar player you are, and I will play my role, which is the songwriter.
Right.
That's my specialty. So I feel like that's important. You know, everybody wants to mix, master, produce,
do everything,
their own record, write it, 100% everything. And sometimes when you get that many pots going,
it's hard.
something's gonna burn. You know, it's like, yeah.
So we've all actually collaborated in some sense. Well, I guess not me and you. Well, this is a collaboration.
But maybe
Not really.
we should to stamp this.
Yeah,
there you go. Maybe we
We'll
should.
do something for me and Augie's song where you can shoot and we can do that way. We can all be involved on one.
That is
project.
true.
Yes.
That should be like a theme of this show.
Ooh.
Whoever's on the show has to do something afterwards.
Has to do something with you.
Then you
That's
tie
true.
it all together.
Oh my gosh! And then we have another show in like a couple weeks or months, and we catch up on it.
That could be cool. Together, follow up. Yeah.
I love that. Well, that was one of the. Let's talk about being in LA and what does that mean as an artist. It's such a useful place to be. It's the ecosystem for artists and musicians is so great here, and I remember like when you actually. A little story, Ryan was the first person that ever paid me for video work. And that was such
Pay your artist.
Yes, pay your artist. And that did so much for me. Like, first of all, so I had shown him a YouTube video because my journey got started on YouTube and I started making long form videos only to realize that no one watches long form videos. So I had to switch to shorts. But it was enough of a body of work where my friends knew, you know, I like to make videos. So Ryan asked me to shoot a music video for him, which I did, and he paid me. And I literally remember when I got the Venmo and I saw it, it was $50. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is so crazy.
It wasn't a full music video, just so
It wasn't.
It's not like I'm like, pay your artist and it's like $50 for a full. It was a quick, we did like a quick shoot, yeah. And you didn't want money. I had to talk you into it. I had to talk you into taking the money. That was,
Well, I feel like artists in LA are so used to not getting paid too. It's like sometimes your instinct is like, I'm just gonna do it. I mean, you don't have to pay me. You can if you want, but
we could open a whole
Yeah,
can of
there's a
worms
whole-
on that about
yeah, I mean-
the whole idea. Like even like just little shout out if I can, but we just me and a producer friend of mine, Ryan Ellis, incredible
Ryan
producer.
Ellis.
He works with all of us. We did the music in a show called BS High, which is trending #2 on HBO right now. We've done projects for with Wiz Khalifa and that, and you do find that, and this isn't to badmouth those projects, but in general, it's a lot of exposure. It's like, we'll give you this amount of money, and it's not what you think it's going to be a lot of times, or it's the opportunity to make money down the road.
Yeah.
And there's just so many times with being an artist, like you said, where people don't get paid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Or you
I got
get
paid for those projects.
you get paid
Thank
like
you so much.
2 years
It was,
later.
It was great, but exactly
Yeah.
like, or it's like, you should do this because you're going to get so much exposure and so much experience. And it's like, at some point there has to be a flip. Like you still want to take on projects that you believe in. You want to work with artists that you believe in for free. Like, but
It's always a gamble.
you got to. There has to be a switch, because if that switch never happens, you're going to be a starving artist forever. You're going to be working at a restaurant. I'm trying to tie that back in as much as I can.
I love it. I love it.
Speaking of being starving, you have any food?
No, not until lunchtime. Well, I think delayed gratification is another very important part of being a successful artist. Is you cannot be expecting millions of views or even thousands of views within the first year. You cannot expect to sell out the show or to be discovered in your first year. If you do, you're going about this the wrong way. You really have to be in it for the long run, and it has to really speak to your heart. Otherwise, because it's going to be lonely in the beginning. Like, I know for me, I'll be making these interviews and getting 300 views, but guess what? I have to show up and go out the next day.
Yeah, and I feel like even in this day and age, that's even harder because everything's about instant gratification. Like putting in work over long term seems so much more daunting. And I feel like that, people just forget that sometimes, that it takes so much time. Like even just learning your craft, practicing every day, and then at some points you're going to feel like, oh, it's not going anywhere. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you'll get something and then move 10 steps back, and it's like, oh, great. Am I just going to give up?
I got a good kind of story on that. It's kind of on that, but it just popped in my head. We're talking about restaurants, we're talking about music, we're talking about all these things, right? So I'm working at Tao in Hollywood. Shout out Tao. Yeah. And we worked there for a long time. And we would have DJs every night, and I walked into the DJ booth, and it was a friend of mine from New York.
Of course.
That I had done shows with. We ran in the same circles. When he knew me in New York, I was an artist. I was Ryan Notes, the guy with the 7-piece band that, you know, goes around and does shows and releases mixtapes, and I was an artist, you know? And he looked at me, and I had like my server uniform on, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just working, bro." Like, you know, like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm not as much of an artist anymore. I'm kind of focused on songwriting now," and, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, "Why?" Like, I don't know. He like couldn't understand what I was doing, you know? And he was like, "You gotta put," and I told him, you know, "Hey, I have so much music." I was like, "I haven't stopped making music. I have it. I just haven't been releasing it." And he was like, "You need to just put the music out." It was very much like what you said, like, you know, that's like the other part of it. I don't know why it hit me so hard. And he was like, two things. He's like, one, no one's gonna give a fuck about you. Right. Because he's like, it doesn't matter that you were this at one point or this happened to you at one point. No one cares about you anymore. Like it all moves so fast that like if you take a month off, it's hard to catch back up sometimes. Like momentum is very important with art, right? 100%. Yeah. And so he said, no one gives a fuck about you, bro. So you need to start releasing music again, and it's probably going to take you like a year to see anything. Right. You're going to have to just go back through the mud. Right. And it hit me really hard, and I was like, hey, he's so right. And then the other thing he said was, he said making music and not releasing it, he said it's like a circle jerk. He's like, you're sitting in the studio with all your friends, you make a song, you play it for your 10 connections that you always send your songs to, and every time they go, "Oh, sick." Which
is kind of not good, because that's your safe space.
100%. So he was safe. I say circle jerk, safe space, same thing. But no, I'm just joking. No, he was just saying, he's like, you gotta just put it back out there, and that it really hit me. I guess it didn't hit me enough to put music out, because I haven't as much as I should, but you know, steps like this are what comes.
Yeah. I mean, I think you are killing it with your band in terms of, I mean, you have a residency right now, you're performing at Davy Wayne's, but that took a while to like establish, because you've been in LA for over 6 years, and you've been with Vertige for like a year?
Yeah, a year. Our anniversary is like this week.
So clearly it takes time, right? To like meet the people and to, you know, get these things done.
Yeah, I mean, I was ready to not give up, but move on. I was going to start being a pilot, like this time last year, and then literally this month is when I got the first show with Naomi, and then just went from there.
I remember that.
Yeah, very strange, but yeah, it takes a while. Meeting the right people.
Yeah, and then not to mention in LA, guess what? Everyone's partying their ass off. So like,
you gotta be so steadfast in your
you fall in.
I'm learning that.
I've fallen in. Yes. I've fallen in for sure.
It goes in waves. It's okay to go down, and Bijan, me and you have always connected on this. If you go down, you got to come back up even harder. Like if you spend a few nights going out with friends and you know you get distracted, all of a sudden the comeback is very important. Yes. So he trains for triathlons. I'm training for a half marathon. Like as much as we go and have our fun, we also lock it back in pretty hard. Like, and I think that's really important.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's very easy to get sucked into that.
Yeah. I have one thing I wanted to say too. You were talking about 1 second ago. Crap. Never mind. I'll come back to it. It's such a good quote that I wanted to tell you guys. It's all right. I'll remember it.
But no, the party scene in LA, I think, is something I want to talk to my guests about, because it's so universal. I've been, caught up in that. I mean, my reputation was major party boy. I miss him every day. And
where'd he go?
Yeah, so do all my friends. And but that experience, what I learned was, if you're an artist and you also like to party, good luck. Good fucking luck.
Yeah. Unless the partying is a part of your brand.
Right. And
you have to brand it into
which takes
you got to get paid to party. Yeah, you got to get paid to party.
So disciplined.
Because especially like us, all service industry guys, music, art.
That too. The service industry is so party oriented.
Yeah.
It's like a terrible combo, music and restaurants. game over. Yeah.
No, I think that's why so many dreams die in the city, because a lot of people, they're not talking about, it's not just La La Land. It's like literally, it's Coco Land.
I mean, yeah, I feel like you said earlier, like LA's where dreams come true, but I feel like so many dreams die here.
They do.
So many dreams, not to be morbid.
No, and that's where Starving Artist comes in, because we are going to get everyone's dreams kicking and going, because I don't know, it just saddens me. I want everyone to be able to protect their dreams. Like, it sounds so naive, but so much of my life has been defined by naivete. And I really believe that. Like, it saddens me when I see someone turning their back on their dreams. It does.
Yeah. Sometimes you're not even turning your back. It's just you gotta close the door a little just to stay alive. Keep the lights on, the work. Like, sometimes you really have to take these steps back, but it's also proper preparation. Like, are you? Yeah,
I feel like,
were you going out and partying and when you shouldn't have been, and that money should have been saved to do this, and now you got to take a step back from music to be able to. It's like, where's your focus? Your focus becomes your reality.
And I feel like there's also so much, you get so much stress and there's so much pressure to, especially in this city, to get to that point. And when you turn to alcohol and drugs and stuff, that kind of takes it off. And so that's why, and that's like the easy way out, kind of, and you don't really have to focus on your dream as much because it's hard and it's a lot of work. So that's why people get kind of tied to it.
Mr. Lubiziano told me one time, partying is a loan on happiness.
Yeah, that's very true.
So you're taking the loan, but you got to pay that loan back. Whether it's tomorrow with the hangover, whether it's next week when your rent's due and you don't have the money for it, whether it's when you sit down and someone says, how's music going? And or how's acting going? And you're not there. It's a loan on happiness. And that always rocked me. I was like, oof.
That's a huge reason. So on the 10th, which was 2 days ago, it was my 4 month sober. And a huge motivation for that was...
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like, whoa. Yeah, it was 4 months already. And mind you, I used to be a huge party boy, but I could no longer stomach waking up day after day with these huge aspirations, with these huge dreams, with all this confidence. But I looked at the week that I had just had, and it was, bender, freaking working maybe 2 days a week because I'm calling out. Right. 0 interviews, 0 YouTube videos. Enough years of that passed where I'm like, Bijan, you have no right to have these audacious goals, because look at you, you're not even trying.
You're not worthy of it.
I was celebrating for 10 years, and then I look back and I'm like, what was I celebrating? What was I celebrating? And I do believe life is meant to be enjoyed, but if you're the type that is ambitious, you have to rein in your pleasure seeking a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Earn your leisure.
Yeah, earn your leisure.
That's another podcast, but I think that's such a great term. Earn your leisure.
Earn your leisure, for God's sake. Let's see. So,
I remembered my quote, by the way.
Oh, tell us the quote, Ryan, please.
I'll tell you quick.
Tell us the quote.
The one thing I was going to say, you were talking about moving to LA and how it's a tough city and all these different things. And another great piece of advice that I got, like, I lived in New York for 8 years, whatever. I lived in Ohio before that for 22 years. It took me, 2 to 3 years once I got to New York to figure it out. It took me 2 to 3 years once I got to LA to figure it out. So when you move to a new city and you have lofty goals and you're trying to do all these amazing things, you have to give yourself grace, because you can't compare your 8 years in New York to your 2 years in LA. You can't compare your 2 years in New York to your 22 years in Ohio. You got to look, it takes time. It's about building foundations and strong foundations. And yes, you want it to happen overnight, but
and it's easy.
Take some time.
It's easy to compare yourself to when you see, this person did it so fast or whatever. But there's no rule book. There's no normal trajectory as far as that stuff goes.
And if you're constantly shitting, I mean, even though I'm very pro discipline and I'm very pro, like, let's get out there. Come on, don't waste time. I'm also very pro compassion for yourself. If you don't have compassion for yourself when you do kind of take an off day, it's going to be a messy ride, and that's going to fuel drinking. That's going to fuel partying. You have to have some compassion for yourself. And rest days in art are just as important as productive days. Just like when you're working out, rest days are vital for recovery. The same applies to art. But I would say more often than not, most artists are too leisurely, and rest days are probably not like an issue that they have. Yeah. That's just what I think. Let's talk about social media, guys. The reason I want to talk about social media is because you brought up a good point. These days, you don't necessarily have to perform as an artist. You can market yourself.
This is your stage.
Yeah, this is your stage, and you can market yourself very successfully digitally, and you don't have to be on stage. So let's talk a little bit about how we use social media to enhance our brand and to like get ahead. I know your girlfriend Sarah documents your all your concerts, and so talk to us a little bit about that, about how you guys market yourself in the role of social media for Vertige.
I mean, it's definitely important. I mean, social media has never been my strong point. You know, that's all part of the whole, like, not anti-networking, but just, it doesn't come to me naturally. That's another thing Naomi's great at. But, yeah, I mean, you have to, like, kind of badger people, it seems like, just like post all the time and advertise shows, and it comes off as annoying, I feel like, but I feel like that's the only way.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, and Sarah takes pictures of us, and her style of shooting kind of fits the 70s-esque rock and roll theme that our band is, which fits it pretty well. But yeah, I mean,
I think you guys do very good. I think like the aesthetic that you guys go for, like digitally, is super on point and very authentic.
Yeah.
Because all of you kind of have like that 70s vibe and like kind of vintage vibe. So it's kind of, you know, the whole package is definitely visible.
yeah, it's hard to get out there though on social media. We still do like the traditional way, like putting up flyers and things.
Do you guys do reels?
Yes, actually, I think she just posted one a few days ago. Yeah, sometimes. But yeah, I know. It's hard to like, you'll get a few hundred views here and there, you know, but to get to the next level, that is hard to do.
Well, it's one thing to like perform, but then it's another thing to package that digitally and put it as a reel or to make it into a photo. Like, it's a completely different art. Social media is a completely different art.
Doing a
Again, like I said earlier, let the professional.
Yeah, let the professional do it.
Because that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
think about how talented he is as a guitar player.
I can't do that at all.
Now he also has to be a content creator.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, that's why we're like,
the answer is
that's
yes.
why we're always
But
discussing.
that answer sucks.
We're always discussing like we need a manager, we need a marketing person because I don't know how to
You
do that.
have to do it though now.
I'm great at guitar, but I suck at talking.
Or else you're gonna have a hard drive full of songs. You know, it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ryan always sends me stuff, different inspos for like, songwriting and being a music guy. So clearly, I think you get it. You get like the vision.
I have an eye for it.
He's an eye for it. Execution,
Yeah, we just gotta do it.
we'll work on that.
I'm waiting on the professional.
Yeah,
Why do you think I'm
Where you
seeing
at?
all the videos?
I know, right?
But no, it's also like you got to get up off your ass. Nobody's going to do anything for you in this life, you know? So if you want it to happen, if this is what it takes, then you got to take the steps.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So let's talk about goals. What are we working towards artistically? What's one of the goals that you're working on for the future?
Definitely just more performing, bigger places with Vertige, getting signed hopefully one day, releasing music. But then ultimately I feel like I want to do my own stuff, my own blues rock band where I'm the front man, basically one day. But yeah, that's kind of the goal.
I love it. I love it. For me, I'm building an audience right now. I'm so new in the content creation world. I am just attempting to really just hone. I mean, I do street interviews, which is an unoriginal idea. And what I'm trying to work on is getting more creative with not only the questions I ask, but the format. I want to change it up a little bit, and I'm in the tinkering phase. So I'm really just experimenting. And for me, my goal is just continue to be consistent. Obviously, this podcast is a new branch of, my content creation journey. So it's really just about consistency and skill building and like widening my digital footprint. That's really what I'm doing. What about you, Rabbi? What is a goal that you would love to achieve in the next year?
I finished an EP, so I want to put that out. Yeah, Augie's on it multiple times.
Really?
I was on it.
Kelly's Acres.
Kelly's Acres.
It's about the family farm in Ohio that we just had to sell, which was my grandpa Kelly. So Kelly's Acres is and we just sold the farm, and I shot the image for it on the front porch of the farm.
Yes.
You know, right when it's sold. So it's very emotional and like means a lot. And so I want to put that out. And then also, I want to be more consistent with shooting some social media stuff.
Yes. You're such a talented songwriter, and I really mean that. Anytime I listen to a song, I don't often listen to the lyrics, but a lot of your lyrics have actually caught my attention. And
very good at writing lyrics.
He is. He's really good with lyrics, and he's very like. I love like your little like drug references and your.
You gotta keep it real.
And like, don't you have a song that references Kim Kardashian?
Yeah.
Yes, I love. Yeah, he does. It's very hip. It's very modern. It's very like current, and I think the world needs to hear it.
Yeah. We'll put some links in the bio.
Link in bio. No, but I definitely feel like we can continue to collaborate, like even all of us.
And then we'll do something together. That'll be, I think
that's the goal now. That's 3.
Yeah.
Do one project together, we put that out, and then it represents kind of why we came here today, I think.
That's true.
I agree.
Combination.
So to end things here on Starving Artists, let's end with a little advice. Let's give, if you can give a newcomer to LA a piece of advice after these 6 years that you've been in LA, what's a piece of advice you'd give to someone that's trying to pursue an art here?
Or maybe like advice to myself 6 years ago or something. Well, be careful with the partying because it's very easy to get sucked in. Don't be too hard on yourself thinking that if it hasn't happened by this time, then I should just give up. You know, there's no real timeline. It takes a while. And consistency, practice every day.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't regret. I'm happy about. Practice guitar every day.
Love it.
Practice your craft every day.
What about you, Ryan?
I think it's the brick analogy. I think I've told you before, but Will Smith had a quote. He said, "You don't worry about building the wall." The one time in the summer, his dad tore the wall down. They were going to rebuild this wall, and he was just like, "There's no way we're going to finish this." His dad said, "You don't build the wall. You lay one brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid, and then you move on to the next brick, and the next brick, and the next brick, and then soon enough, the wall appears." So when you you have to have big goals. You know that that's the final goal, but sometimes more importantly is what's right in front of you today, which for you today is this right now. Lay this brick perfectly, and then move on to the next one. But finish the brick. I got a lot of 80% done songs, so it's like that's something I've learned over time is actually finish what you start and then move on to the next thing. So you can give that a chance.
Doing the 80-90% is the easy part.
100%.
Putting that last one on is the most risky and hard.
I guess a piece of advice I would give to my younger self would be to start with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is have your ultimate goal in mind. Know concretely what you're going for. Like for me, example, do I want to be a filmmaker or do I want to be a digital content creator? They're completely different, and the roadmap to both is different. I used to think I wanted to be a filmmaker and a documentarian, but then I was like, no, I actually want to make social media content. So the difference is huge, and the preparation is going to be huge. So start with the end in mind and kind of try to hammer it in, like as concretely as possible, what the end goal is, and then have a calendar that you put due dates for all of your progress. Due dates are the backbone to all of my success. Calendars are the backbone to all of my, progress, and that's what I would tell someone. Be organized about your art. Be organized about your art. Don't just say, next week I'm going to do this. No, what day are you going to do that? Smart goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. You always want to have your goal setting, especially as an artist, be very, it has to be like practical steps, and due dates help a lot with that. Love it. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening to my podcast, Starving Artists.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Woohoo! Episode 1. Yes, and I think it actually recorded the whole thing. I love it.
Should we do one where we're touching each other?
Yeah.
gonna do a smile one.
Oh, that's really cute.
Very cute.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yay, boys! Thank you so much. Love it.
All right, just send it over for approvals before anything is